right? First and foremost, I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time out to being here. Because as many speakers have said before, you could have been doing anything else on a Saturday morning, but you all are here with us in this environment. It's a beautiful thing to see. For all of you who don't know who I am, I just want to share a quick backstory on myself before we go into it. My name's Ricardo Bay, and I serve as Chief Business Development Officer for 73 Holdings, as well as a general partner in 73 Ventures, which is the sports acquisition side of what we're doing at 73 Holdings with sports and real estate, right? Little back story on my experience, coming from a consulting background with a small boutique services firm, transitioned into entrepreneurship around 2019 in the investing and trading space. Met Garrick through a mutual friend who's also a former professional athlete who was a client of mine at the time, Quentin Caver. He played for the Chiefs as well as the Cowboys. And Garrick and I, we started to connect and look at what we're doing as far as this Ownership Reimagined movement. And I believe in Garrick as an individual and the vision that he's painted for us here. And so we started working together and rolling out our initiatives in 2021 as far as 73 is concerned and sports teams and acquisition. So super excited to be here with each and every one of you. We have an amazing panel. I had the opportunity to meet this gentleman here, Corey Jackson, last year in March. We had an event. Kyle Casey, we met, New York, actually at our last event. Yasha, we got to know Yasha a little bit outside right here, but we wanted to bring him on because it all ties into what we're talking about here, which is brand building and transitioning into entrepreneurship. And Thomari is also a great friend of mine. Gotten to know him personally over the last 2 years, so super excited to be here with each and every one of you. So let's go ahead and kick it off. So, for each and every one here, we're gonna have you all, give a little backstory. These gentlemen here, they've all played professionally, with the exception of Yasha, right? Maybe he did, maybe, I don't know, right? But so we're gonna start with Thomari first. He's gonna share his background coming from professional playing MLB and then to where he's at now and the businesses he has started. And just really quick, Thomari also serves with us on the 66 Venture side of things when it comes down to the real estate. So go ahead, Thomari, the floor is yours, brother.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for having me here. This is an amazing event. Anytime you can get athletes and with the family office concept, I feel like that's which is a big thing that's needed, because when I retired from ball, I didn't have anything like this. And so knowing that we can create something for athletes that that takes in the consideration of their life after sports. That was one of the biggest things that I was struggling with when I was finished with baseball was, what am I going to do now? I'm not suiting up every day. I'm not playing ball. So what do I do? And so luckily I had a good friend of mine named CJ Thomas that was in the mortgage industry, and he said, hey, come to Fresno, California. We're doing these the mortgages where we're going door to door. We're selling this pick-a-pay loan, which, it was a bad loan back in the day before the real estate crash, as you guys all know now.
Right.
But I was going door to door, which was something new for me, because I was just trying to figure it out, And so going door to door, understanding mortgages, I got into the credit repair side of things because I wanted to help my clients that needed help with credit, because we don't go to school for credit. We don't get educated for credit. At least most of us don't. I haven't heard of one person that said, hey, they educated us on credit and how it works. And so the mortgage industry wasn't something that I stuck to because I wasn't super passionate about it, but I was super passionate about helping people and educating people how that business or how credit works. And so I started a credit repair company, shortly after the crash, because a lot of people were losing their houses and I wanted to help them. And so I had to build a brand literally from scratch. And so what I learned from that is, I came from the mortgage background, so why not, first thing, network with mortgage lenders? That's something that I knew, that's something that I was familiar with. And so I was able to start my own brand. Luckily, I had some people around me and when it comes to marketing and coming up with the logo coming up with that whole, when you think about starting something from scratch, that actually now, because of how I started, I'm really, that intrigues me on how to, come up with your logo, your domain name, and all the things that takes to run a business, how to create an entity in the proper way. But the life after the baseball that kind of led me into the credit, my company's called Credit Pulse. It was really built on the education first and then being able to help others. And I think that's one of the things that when you can kind of figure out your lane and what you like to do and what you enjoy to do, sometimes you stumble into it. Sometimes you know exactly what you want to do. But for me, that's the first thing that I did. And then I started a company called Team Avenue Baseball, which was it's a student athlete program because when I got drafted in baseball, I went to Australia for an international trip with Bob Williams, the founder of Area Code Games, which it's kind of like I wanted to replay my story and have that same maybe outcome for other kids if I created a platform to go overseas and to educate them on how to, it comes down to personal development and player development. How to, sell yourself to college coaches. Actually, James Loney was my roommate. The group that was here last, James is an agent with them. But I was able to create that same opportunity for kids to go overseas and play and get out of their comfort zone and learn who they are as people first and how to articulate who they are as people. And then you have the player development side. I learned to surround myself, and luckily I had some great mentors along the way, like Bob Bennett. He's the gentleman that built Fresno State's program. Reggie Smith, great baseball player, but even better of a person. That's a father figure to me. He was my hitting coach with the Dodgers. And then Dr. Robert Watts, he's from the Bronx here, but he has a doctorate in the psychology of business organization. So the mentors that you surround yourself with, and then creating that and using those mentors that helped you and keeping them as close to you as possible, because then you're creating a team to help the youth or the entrepreneurs that are coming and every year there's going to be different entrepreneurs that come and they're going to we're creating this, and that's what I love about this whole platform that we're creating, because we're going to make it a lot easier for people like myself when they're done with sports. Now it's going to be a lot easier in terms of protecting their assets and creating a platform where they can build and help others.
Beautiful, beautiful. And then we're going to pass it over to Kyle and Yasha, and we'd love to hear about the relationship, the time that you guys have spent and, working together and, your backstory and where you were, where you're at today.
Sure. Thank you guys for having me.
Uh-oh.
You guys need this?
He's an actor too, so he presents.
I got you.
There you go.
I got you. Thank you guys for having me. I grew up in Louisiana and moved to Boston, so, right off the rip, two very different backgrounds. And I ended up at Harvard, where I played college basketball. Went on to play professionally overseas for about 8 years. Had a short stint in the NBA with the Suns. Played in the G League for a while, and I played internationally for most of my career. Played a little bit on Team USA, just a qualifying team, back when they went and choked in China, but I can't do anything about that. And yeah, I got into this area, honestly, on a whim. My career ended abruptly, and I've heard a lot of people sit up here and say, have a plan, start planning what you want to do, X, Y, Z. That's great. I still tell people that. I tell people now, take that one step further. Start to execute on your plan while you're still playing. You don't have to take major steps, but leverage who you are while you're most quote-unquote valuable to society, you know what I mean? But anyway, I didn't get the chance to do that. And my career ended abruptly because of family illness, and my mom actually got cancer 45 minutes after I signed the biggest contract in my life. So I ended up never playing again. I was her transplant donor. I was sitting in the hospital one day, figuring out what I'm gonna do with my life, and I was just essentially I was looking at my bank account and I was just seeing my money go down and down and down because I hadn't worked for about 13, 14 months. And that's how I got into finance. Literally that night, I just kind of went down the rabbit hole and I was like, all right, I want to see where I went wrong and then help others in my situation or that could potentially be in my situation because, 99% of people end their career on a loss. So there's only one champion, and if that's your last game, that's just what it is, right? So you got to be ready for the next step, and that's kind of where I went with it. I started working in wealth management, and you learn a lot about money, a lot that you didn't know, a lot that you know athletes don't know. When you get into that space, and so I just kind of use my network. I've heard a lot of people talk about, utilizing your network. I'm a big believer in that, like be a sponge in all aspects of life. So I kind of just utilize my network to kind of fast track me along the way, but also just utilizing, who I am as a person. Obviously, I've got a personality. I like to get into different rooms and things like that. So, just not being afraid to put yourself out there. I think, yes.
We need the mic for video.
Hello. Oh, hey. So, you messed my train of thought up now. No, just utilizing who you are as a person, really. That'll really help you just in transforming who you are. I heard some people talk about, going through a transformation. It's scary. When everyone Googles your name and all they see is, running pictures or basketball or baseball or whatever the case may be, and, you're talking to them about annuities and stuff like that, right? It's a little daunting to, put yourself in another room in another field, but I think that's just the journey of life. One of my favorite quotes is, embrace your journey. So I think, there's always a beginning and an end, but, the important part is always, what happens in the middle of that. So I'll pass it off to Yasha now.
Hi guys, my name is Yasha Grubin. I'm the CEO of a startup called Guyan, and as was correctly assumed, I was not a pro athlete. I don't know how he guessed that, but yeah. But I do relate to a lot of the people on this panel because I also had a major shift from one career path to another. I'm originally from New York, and I started a career in directing and making content and entertainment for music artists, mostly in hip-hop and R&B. So I worked, if you're familiar with hip-hop, you might know some of these names. I've made videos for Wiz Khalifa, Lil Uzi, Kehlani, Marshmello, Tyga, and a bunch of other artists. So that path took me to LA to follow that journey and follow my dreams. And in 2016, one of my videos for Kehlani, Distraction, was nominated for a Grammy. So I was doing well in that career path, and then I had an experience that fully shifted the direction of my life. I was hiking one day in LA, and I had this idea. I was seeing a lot of people exert a lot of energy and movement and motion. And I thought that it would be really cool if we could capture that energy and that motion and turn it into something that we can use, like energy. So, yeah, I really relate to a lot of people here because I know how hard it is to shift career path when people know you as one thing and you want to do something completely different. And when you have to start from scratch and you don't have a support system, it takes a lot longer and it's a lot harder. That's why I really love what this organization is doing and what people are doing here, because I would have loved to have this kind of support system. I think you can fast track a lot of that if you have a support system that teaches you what to do, what to not do, yeah, and helps you on your new path. So I think this is really, really important.
What is Guyan?
It's a technology company. He hates it when I say it's footwear. So our first product is a shoe that generates energy when you walk, and there's a removable battery that you can pull out and charge your devices. But ultimately, the underlying technology that we call Spark is a generator that turns motion into energy, and that can be used in a variety of use cases. We're just starting with the shoe.
Beautiful. All right, go ahead, Corey, you got it.
How you guys doing? My name is Corey Jackson. I am the founder of a company called Qwerkz. I will be honest with you guys, I am from South Carolina. So when I got off the plane, my voice was like, what is going on? My chest compressed a little bit. So please bear with me. I played in the NFL for 2 teams. I played for the Denver Broncos and the Cleveland Browns. And I have kind of a unique story. I got exposed to branding early on by accident. I tell people a lot of times, my whole career has been an accident. I was a kid that didn't receive any scholarship offers, working at Walmart, just trying to figure life out. And then a few years later, found myself playing in the NFL. And I still didn't understand branding until someone wrote an article about a kid that went from Walmart to the NFL. And it just kind of took off, and I got invited to speak at this organization, and I didn't want to do it. I was like, I don't want to talk, right? I just didn't feel like I had anything to say, and I didn't understand what I had to offer and a lot of the intrinsic things that came with being an athlete. And so they kept nagging me about it, and so I'm like, okay, I'll do it, and I didn't even prepare anything. I was just like, I'm just gonna show up and say, hey, you work hard, good things happen. But an amazing thing happened when I got there. How they had it set up, they walked me out on a stage, and it was just hundreds of people. So I'm thinking it was gonna be like a handful of people. So now I'm like, okay, what I'm gonna say to these people? And that was the first time I, from start to finish, told my story for how I went from working at Walmart to playing in the NFL. All the obstacles I had to overcome and the things that I went through to get to where I was. And that was the first time I realized that I had a message and I had a story. And once my career was over, I was able to continue speaking. And it's so funny how things happen. A lot of my friends were still in the league, and I would go to these companies and I would speak and I would make relationships and things of that nature. And as those guys started coming out, they were like, hey, we're trying to find my next thing. And so I started connecting them with a lot of my connections. And then I realized, like, hey, we can create a business around this. And so we started connecting athletes to companies. And one of the companies that retained us early on was a company called 84 Lumber. They're similar to like a Lowe's or a Home Depot, and they had like leadership roles that they were trying to fill, and they were looking for these very specific type of people. And the athletes that we had really fit what they were looking for. And so it kind of snowballed into that. And then, like I said, everything to me that was moving forward was like an accident, because I was just being aware of what was happening. And those companies started asking for help with other things, and we became a full service recruiting firm. And then it progressed even more. And then we started working with other recruiting firms and creating unique partnerships, and that became a whole nother thing. And so it just continued to progress. But it all started with just my exposure to understanding how branding works and how people connect you to not only what you do, but the things that you develop inside of you as you do what you do as an athlete.
Very, very beautiful. And I think there were many great points that were touched on, from the aspect of, the network, right? Your network, we've all heard this, network is net worth, right? Being able to leverage what these guys have done on the field, off the field, that's important. A lot of the conversations that me and Garrick have are around the fact that, you are going to be a former player than you are an actual player. And so it really puts things into perspective, the reality of how short that time span is that you actually have on the field, the pitch, the court, whatever the case may be. So I want to go into, you guys is the mindset, that you were in, making that transition from sports into business, and what were some of the challenges, right, that each of you have faced, when it came down to, being able to push your brand beyond the sports, being seen more than just an athlete, because I know that can be frustrating, and those are some real life choke points where people just see you for what you were, and so they put a cap and they put a limit on your potential and what you're capable of. So I would like for each of you, the athletes on stage, to speak to that.
I think for me, it was overcoming myself, right? As an athlete, especially playing football, you get to your job is broken down into plays, and so I'll use Garrett as an example. I play defensive end, he played offensive tackle, and he may get the best of me on a play, right? He may pancake me, put me in the dirt, and I'm just laying there looking pitiful. But the next play, I could get up and get a sack, fumble, and change the whole course of the game. And in business, it doesn't quite work that way. And so you're so excited to do what you do, but you have these gaps that it takes longer to come back from a failure or come back from a loss or things that go wrong. And so just overcoming myself was a huge thing for me. Figuring it out, like, okay, there's a longer runway as it pertains to failure, and I have to figure out how to fill that gap.
Yeah, for me, can you hear me? Is this good? There we go. Like all the way up here. For me, I would say my biggest thing is I like to say I'm a chameleon with a strong sense of self-identity, right? So you can walk in many rooms and stay true to who you are, but transitioning into something, you got to find that purpose and find where you want to go and what you want to do. So I would say that was the hardest part for me, to be honest. Just understanding that I'm still who I am. I still have the core values that I have. Still have all the, the positive characteristics that I can contribute to society, a company, anything like that. But, you got to do things with a purpose and a passion, right? So for me, it was finding that next calling and understanding that it's not going to be identical to what I previously did in my life, but I needed to feel that same purpose and passion in its own way and still remain who I am.
I think for me, it was overcoming the fear of failure initially. And then I just remember telling myself one day, I was like, you played baseball, I mean, out of all the sports, you failed 3 out of 10 times and you're a success. And I took myself and got out of my own way. And all of the skills that I learned through playing baseball, the adversity that you go through sports and the leadership that you learn. And I mean, I went from playing in a high school game where literally there was no one at the game to playing, getting drafted and playing in front of a bunch of fans where, that was hard. That was scary, to be able to do that. And so when you think about going through that for 9 years, and then there's a new thing that comes, it's really just, like the guy said, is getting out of your own way. So then you go into athlete mode in business because all of those skills are transferable and they transfer really well. But if you're in your own way, you don't see it. And then once you get going, so once you initially, you get over yourself, and then all the experience that you gain from just doing it, like Nike, just do it, and then you're able to be successful in something that's new, and especially if you have that passion, and your intent is to help others, and then you surround yourself with people around you that feel and their mindset is the same. It's contagious, and then you're able to build something really great because you're doing it the right way. So it's just really just getting over yourself and then understanding you've done this before, just in something different.
Very beautiful. And I know we're short on time here, but I just want to make one quick point, and then I have one other question to that very point. The competitive nature of the athlete. Once again, the conversation that Garrick and I have about being that three-headed monster, right? In the boardroom, on the court, the pitch, the field, whatever the case may be, and in business, it translates that mindset, how you approach it, right, and how you do business, and so on and so forth. So that's super important, guys. And while we put this legacy circle together,
Yeah, go ahead. Just to add to that, I mean, as an athlete, personally, I don't know, I've been in a lot of different situations in business, there's nothing that I've done post basketball that felt as intense and like so much pressure as shooting a free throw with 3 seconds left, tie game. Right? So when you relate, don't go into it like just bluntly. Don't go into it saying, "Oh, I was an athlete. I don't have any value for a company." Right? There's a lot of values that you have innately as an athlete that companies are just seeking. And then there's a lot that you don't know about yourself that you'll discover once you get into a company, right? Like, I love business development. Couldn't have told you that my second year of basketball. I had no clue, right? But, I find that I'm very good at that. But, just don't, like you said, don't sell yourself short, but actually appreciate the attributes that you do have and lean on those, because we keep reiterating, it's hard to transition, right? So lean on who you are and understand who you are, so that is your foundation, that is the seed that's planted already, and little by little, a little becomes a lot. Water what you have, and then you'll grow.
Beautiful. And just have one last question for you all. If you could sum it up in 2 to 3 points, what does athlete legacy circle mean to each and every one of you?
To me, it means generational wealth, and how to open that door and give access to that. I feel like over the years, it's been a kind of a secret, and so to have access to that and to have that opportunity when, like Julia was talking earlier, where we're talking about 100 years, 3 generations, and so when you look at your kids and their kids and their kids, that they're going to be okay if you set the foundation up for them correctly. That legacy to generational wealth, that access to generational wealth, that's what's exciting to me.
I would say to me, it means help other people help you, or empower other people to empower you. It's harder to do things alone, and everyone has blind spots. So I think to create a legacy, you need to have the right partners in the right circle.
Learn, execute, and pass it on. That's what it is. I think there's a reason that there's a lack of financial literacy in this world, because they want to keep it all at the top, right? So once you learn, execute, and teach others also, but definitely let's be about it and not just talk about it, and then let's make sure that it lasts, right? So let's pass it on. Let's structure our family offices appropriately, and hold those accountable that need to be held accountable, so that this is something that is sustainable for our generations to come.
Yeah, I think definitely value creation and passing it on. I grew up in South Carolina. I had a great grandfather that back in like the 50s and 60s owned over 300 acres of farmland, and it was unheard of. Unfortunately, none of that knowledge and information got passed on to the next generations, and we were able to kind of see the ramifications of that. So it's certainly about being able to pass it on and transition it to the next generation for sure.
Awesome. Thank you all for your time. Let's give them a round of applause.